Focus, you fuck! Hello and welcome to another video. Today I'm going to fit the clamshell. As you can see from this, it's now shiny yellow and it's also clean, and it's going back in today. So stay tuned and enjoy the show. And here I'm just placing all of the harness, reconnecting all of it with the clips from underneath the car, and then connecting it to the bulk of the car. The harness is an interesting one because it's not difficult, but finding where the clips are and routing them is a little time consuming. What you can see here is a little connection for the cabin intake of the air. My filter was completely broke. The connection bit for that was completely broken, so I had to fabric cobble something. And here I'm just routing all of the cabling for the top of the clamshell. So this cabling includes all of the headlight pods, the headlight motors, and the boost solenoid cable. So now I'm just going to route these two from this side. So these are the bonnet grounds in practical terms, and I had to route them twice because of the rubber bushings. So the next thing I need to do now is to put some Sikaflex here and align the whole of the clamshell with the doors. And for that I need to experiment with opening and closing the doors multiple times. And once I figure out more or less where the clamshell goes, I'm probably going to add a few washers at somewhere, some of the connections of the clamshell, to tilt it in the correct order so that I get the best possible fitting. Unfortunately, I actually don't know how to do this, and I've not seen on the manual how to do it. So maybe I'm missing those pages in the manual, or maybe I'm just not reading the manual properly. So for me it's just a matter of experimenting, and I'm gonna add washers as required in order to chim things and align things. So every single one of the places where I can put a screw, I'm probably gonna check if I need a washer or not until everything aligns. And then after everything aligns, I'm gonna put a bit of Sikaflex around and well, start screwing everything down. So I guess we'll just have to go into a fast forward video now and see how things go. So this seems to be aligned. I have used a surprising amount of shims. 2 here, about 4 or 5 over there. Over there I have 6, and then another 3, and then nothing on the top. And I mean, this is as close as I can get it. Unfortunately, I don't think it's very good, but you can only do the best that you can. So I'm going to tighten all of these screws down, and then I'm gonna move on to the other bits that it's effectively doing in reverse order what I've done to disassembling. Okay, so here I have 25mm M6 screws and washers of different sizes, which I will be using as appropriate. Not really paying attention to what the parts manual says or what the book says, I'm just fastening everything down. So the missing two bits there, those are not machine screws, those are self-tapping screws. So I also have stainless steel of an appropriate size to fit there, and washers that fit in with them. Okay, so I had a little hurdle here. What happened is that this is definitely into this screw here definitely goes into a thread, but these two, they connect to a piece of plastic that comes out from here, and what it has is those I'll bring one of them to show actually. So what I'm saying is that the piece of plastic has what it's this, and hopefully the camera can zoom in here. Let's try. Come on, zoom in. Come on, zoom in. Right, let's try manual focus here. Okay. So we've got a manual focus here. So it says one of these, or they have two of these, which are usually used with self-tapping screws. But the self-tapping screws that I have are not suitable for the size, so I'm going to use the M6 threads that I'm using everywhere else. So strangely enough, the furthest away screw won't go in as a machine screw. So I had to put a self-tapping screw there. It actually damaged a little bit my threads. It's possible that it didn't want to go in because of the thread, so I'm going to try it again with a different screw. Unfortunately, that seems to have worn down two of my stainless screws. Yeah, maybe you can see, maybe you can't see, but the threads are a little bit damaged, so I need to find out if the threads are clogged with whatever metal was there from the other side, or if the metal from the other side destroyed these threads. And I think they are clogged, but I'm not quite sure. So I just used the self-tapping screws instead. That is the main 6, 7, 8, 9. There's probably 10 screws here that the clamshell won't go anywhere now. As you can see, the whole thing is shaking. So I'm going to do the easy thing now. I'm going to put all of the grommets here for the suspension stuff. So that's the suspension turret grommets. The next thing, what am I going to do next? I'm going to install the turbo solenoid next, since it's already here. I need to fabricate a plate that goes on the opposite side, which is here. It's just a piece of metal that I've cut to size, and I've drilled 2 holes on it and then tapped them. So all I'm going to do is put some polyurethane adhesive on the back of this, glue it on the opposite side, and then screw it and just let it stay there. By screwing it, it's going to add the pressure, so the polyurethane adhesive will do the adhesion, and then next time I need to undo it, just undo the screws, and with a bit of luck, the polyurethane adhesive will hold it in place. Now hopefully that camera caught some of that footage. Well, hopefully that camera caught some of that footage, which then would be very nice, but it's a very slim chance.
And it didn't.
And I'm just going to reconnect things the way that they used to be, which is one in here as a grounding, so I need to take that out again, and one in here as the positive voltage. Let's zoom in there again. So now I'm just going to plug this over there as a ground, even though I'm pretty sure I could just plug it here. And that is the boost transducer installed. So I'm gonna move on to do the motors next, I guess. I've just realized since I've got the polyurethane already opened, I might as well just do the beads of Sikaflex around here first before moving on to the motors.
Now, please don't ask me in the comments about filling beads of polyurethane, because this is a guesswork job for me. I'm hoping for the best as I'm doing it, and so far no problems with the car. But nothing can be promised.
Slight change of plans here. I'm going to do the bonnet hinges instead. Okay, so here we have the bracket. It's been rust proofed and then painted, and it looks nice and shiny. And I have stainless steel screws with washers and nuts, and then I have the other side of the bracket, which is just rust proofed again and painted. And I'm going to replace these with the brand new ones, but I'm still going to use the same cap because I don't have anything else to use. Now, looking at this, the parts manual is probably wrong when it says to use this cap on the front, because if we close this, you can see that the cap would just not be touched, or it would be touched by the fiberglass, which doesn't make much sense. Also, if you look at this bracket here, this seems to be designed to actually stop at the cap here. So I'm going to put it on the back, which is where it was originally anyway. Now, there is no mention on the book about where the washers go, if they go above or below the bracket. So I'm going to put them above the bracket.
Here is just a little clip showing the difference between the brackets of the motors before and after treating, and moving on to fitting the motors finally.
Okay, the next thing I'm fitting is the little bracket here. These are the bits that came out. I already replaced it with stainless steel. It's possible that these are not stainless steel, but it's possible that they're just dirty. Either way, I have stainless steel replacements, so I may just replace them with stainless steel. These ones are zinc plated, and I don't have any stainless steel replacements, but as you can see they are in pretty good condition, so I will be reusing those. Here I have the brackets. It's just a matter of finding out which bracket goes where. The captive nuts will need to be on the inner side of the car, so this doesn't line up like this, doesn't line up like this, so it's this one that lines up there with the captive nuts over there. The thing that is worth keeping in mind here is that there is no alignment required, because there is the flexibility of how these rods work. So I don't need to worry about this being a little bit more to the left or to the right, because the rods will, the rods on way they work will do the alignment for me.
What I really mean is that they compensate for any misalignment.
Yeah, that was just a pinky amount of torque. It's a reliable unit, you can trust me. As far as finding out which motor fits, it's actually really simple. There's only one size where the lever can fit in, because the other one is capped out. So, you know, the lever needs to be on that side so that it aligns with that. So I'm just going to give this motor a little bit of a cleanup, and then I will fit it in with those 2 bolts. And the last bolt is to fit in with this bracket, which I will leave for later on. This is just something that I've done in the past to a certain degree of success, which is to add a little bit of padding inside of the socket so that I can push the bolt with the socket itself. Now to remove that, I just use a bit of wire, coat hanger, well, something thinner than a coat hanger or a nail, nothing difficult. So there it is. The motor is now in place. So the next thing that I can do is put this bracket, which I still need to do the rust treatment on it. And then of course the connection it's easy to guess because, you know, the colors do match. Right, so I've got my clips. It's probably out of focus here. Let's see if it goes into focus. Hello! Here's a clip. Yeah, it's got plenty of yellow, but yeah, it's going back in. Trying to focus back. Right, this camera is not as good as the other, but it does the job. So I'm gonna clip there, and then just going to connect these two, and then find whichever place is most suitable for this clip. So the only thing missing for this area is to... Right, these two, they're never connected. I don't know where they're supposed to connect. I'm assuming that they're for the American car, but they just go there loose, annoyingly. What I used to do, or what I've done in the past, is just put this bracket holding them down so that they won't move much. Now, it would have been nice to take this out of the car and do everything to make it shiny, but I am not really in the right frame of mind to do that today.
So the original installation is actually with rubber well nuts on the other side, but I am just using nuts to hold these two bolts on the other side. Every time I need to remove them, I will always have access to the other side because it's not a lot of work.
So now I'm just gonna do the same on the other one, probably with a fast forward, I guess.
And as promised, here's a fast forward. Yeah, the installation is just the same. The only slight difference is the access to the two nuts, the two bolts that go on top of the motor. It's actually easier to connect these on the driver's side than the passenger side. The next thing is to install the brackets that support the movement of the light pods when they go up and down. Again, brand new stainless steel fasteners, very shiny, and it's just a matter of installing them.
Anyway, all of that has been replaced with those and those, and I'm going to reuse these spacers.
Right, so here I'm installing the second half of the bracket, and you can see that I'm installing it flat, but if you pay close attention, I'm actually loosening one of the screws to give it a bit of leeway that it can fold upwards, because the bolt that protrudes from the clamshell was actually in the way.
Right, so I'm still in the process of putting the clamshell back together, and the next thing that I'm going to do is to put these little plastic bits, which I don't know their name, but they're I don't even know their purpose, to be honest, but I've removed them, and I broke the captive nuts where they were located, and what I'm going to do is just use a new bolt and a new nut with a washer to put them back together. In theory, you could remove them without taking the bumper out, but I don't see any reason to ever remove them again, and if I ever do, I'll just remove the bumper. So I'm just going to put a new bolt nut, and they go back in there, and you know, it's trivial. The next thing I'm doing is to put the bonnet latch and just install it. The top bracket is here. It's been treated, rust treated with phosphoric acid and then painted. Same gunmetal color as everything else. I like gunmetal, let's just put it that way. This is what it looks like. Looks shiny. There's no rust at all. So I'm just gonna fit the backing plate and then attach everything. And as you see, I have the backing plate and I've attached the clamp in place. There is a little gap here which I'm gonna slide this through and then install it. And I need a little bit of leeway, so I'm gonna undo that bolt. But sometimes you just forget. Right now I've got a close-up shot here, so you can see as much as possible from this. So all I'm doing is turning around the bracket, aligning it. There it is. But that is the bracket aligned. There's a little bit of room so that I can then completely align it in a way that closes the bonnet and then tighten everything. I'm going to tighten everything now just to show, but I will be realigning it later. And the cable is lifting here, so I'm going to have to raise up this bit, raise up that. Well, it's all already raised, so I can just do that right now and reroute the cable. There we go. Cable is now routed. I don't actually know how the cable is meant to be routed. I do know that it was a bit loose the first time I took it off, so it's always been like that. But the cable works, so I'm not really concerned. As long as it's out of the way of any moving parts, it's good, and that's exactly what I have. So I'm just going to tighten these bolts again, so that there's no wobbling about, but that's it. So we'll go on to that fast forward. So these are now dry, so I can install them, and I believe that this is from this side, and that will be over there. So this is something that I do a lot. I remove things and I keep the bolts in the place where they came out of, so that I know exactly where they go. Now this has a certain angle that I can position it. As you can see by the shape of the holes, they are meant to have a certain tilt to them. Now, what happens is that when we install the light pods, they may have a little bit of a tilt to align correctly with the bonnet. So what I'm going to do is just leave it like this, because I can only put the correct amount of spacers here underneath and above this after I have the light pods in place, because the light pods will hinge in here, and this is a bracket that is just spreading a bit of the load into there and straight onto the chassis, so that the light pods don't put all of their pressure when they move into the fiberglass. So I'm just going to leave it like this
and start installing the bracket that you can use the stick to hold the bonnet. So this is just 6 bolts, quick and easy job. One thing to note is that you need to put a bit of pressure onto the brackets so that everything can align. And here is a treated heat shield, so I did the rust treatment again on it, and then I put some heat resistant paint on it. So this is a dark grey. I couldn't find gunmetal grey, I used dark grey. I then found that there was a aluminium silver kind of thing, so that has been repainted with an aluminium silver that fits in better with the rest of the engine. There's 3 bolts that hold it. I'm only showing you 2 of them because the 3rd bolt was seized in place the first time I removed it and it just sheared off. So next time that I take the turbo out, or well, first time that I will take the turbo out, I will have to deal with that one. And the next task was to make sure that the sides were fixed. So here I'm just putting bolts, of course brand new ones with stainless steel, as I've been just doing like that everywhere. And yeah, a few washers in the middle to make sure that the spacing and all of the bodywork aligns. So there's a different amount of washers on each side depending on how the bodywork aligns. And here I'm fitting the bracket that holds the air intake pipe so it won't rattle. You can see that that bushing is not a factory Lotus bushing, it's one that I had to replace. It's just a brand new one, same M6 size, and it holds the bracket in place as one would expect. It's not factory, but it's an adequate solution to a problem.
Next bolt I'm replacing is this one. Again, I'm just replacing it with a stainless steel, same size. I'm also going to get a brand new rubber cover for it. So I'm going to put this one back because the other one is still in the post. But thanks to the magic of editing, you'll see the new one in a second. Now, I'm just assuming that this is the correct height, so in order to readjust the height, what I have to do is just undo this bolt a tiny bit while holding the one from underneath, and then tighten this bolt, or unscrew it, and then tighten the one from there to keep everything steady.
So what I've not explained very well here is that you need to undo the nuts to then move out the bolt up and down.
That's the old rubber, new rubber in a second, thanks to the magic of editing.
And here's the new rubber, which is actually more of a plasticky thing. I could not find any rubber. This was the last thing that I had to do to fit the clamshell. So thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video.